She lost interest. And you felt it happen in real time. One conversation, everything was easy. The next, something shifted almost invisibly. Her texts got shorter. Her energy cooled. The way she looked at you when you walked into a room changed. And you don't know exactly what you did. But you did something. You definitely did something. There are 8 specific behaviors that kill a woman's attraction, not gradually, not over months, but instantly, repeatedly, and visibly. Most men are committing at least 3 of them today without realizing it. By the end of this video, you won't be one of them. Stay until number 6. It's the one every man thinks is a power move. It's actually the one doing the most damage. 1. Never seek her approval before making a decision. This is the silent killer, the one operating quietly in the background of almost every interaction, draining attraction so slowly that neither person can pinpoint exactly. When it started only that something changed, you're deciding where to go for dinner. Instead of choosing, you say, I don't know, where do you want to go? Whatever you feel like is fine. You're planning the weekend. Instead of suggesting something, you say, I really don't mind. What do you want to do? She mentions offhand that she's not a fan of a certain artist you love. Next time she's around, you change the playlist. She gives your shirt a look. The next time, you leave it hanging in the closet. On the surface, this looks like consideration, like flexibility, like being a thoughtful, low-maintenance partner. But underneath the surface, in the deep, unspoken architecture of how attraction actually works, something entirely different is being transmitted. Every time you hand a decision over to her approval, you send one signal. I don't trust my own judgment enough to act on it without your permission. And that signal, repeated over days and weeks and months, erodes attraction the way water erodes stone, slowly, silently, irreversibly. Women are drawn to decisiveness, not arrogance, not stubbornness, decisiveness. The ability to assess a situation, make a call, and own it without needing someone else to validate it first. When you make a decision and stand behind it, even something as ordinary as picking a restaurant, you're speaking directly to a part of her brain that isn't analyzing your logic. It's evaluating your strength. And here's the nuance most men completely miss. She doesn't need you to be right every time. She needs you to be willing to decide. A man who picks a restaurant that turns out to be mediocre is infinitely more attractive than a man who couldn't pick one at all. Because the first man demonstrated agency. The second demonstrated dependency. And dependency, in the language of attraction, is death. Stop asking for permission to be yourself. Stop pulling her opinion before you've even formed your own. Decide, move, lead. If she disagrees, she'll tell you. And a woman who feels free to disagree with a man who has a clear direction is a woman who respects him. A woman who's been handed the steering wheel by a man who's afraid to drive is already looking for the exit. 2. Never explain yourself more than once. She challenges something you said, questions a decision you made, pushes back on your reasoning. And what do? You explain. She pushes again. You explain harder, more detail. More justification, more evidence, more words, more effort to make her understand that you weren't wrong, that your logic was sound, that you had a perfectly good reason. You just failed a test you didn't even know you were taking. When a woman pushes back on something you've said, she is almost never looking for a better explanation. What she's actually looking for is something far more primal. She wants to know what you're made of. She wants to see if her resistance can move you, if her disapproval can rattle you, if the slightest pressure can make you abandon your position and start scrambling to defend yourself, like a defendant on a witness stand. When you over-explain, you answer that question and not in the way you want. You tell her that her approval matters more to you than your own conviction, that you'll spend unlimited energy trying to bring her around, because you simply cannot tolerate the discomfort of her disagreement. And that level of emotional fragility is one of the fastest attraction killers that exists. The powerful move is devastatingly simple. State your position once, clearly, calmly, with no urgency behind it. If she disagrees, you acknowledge it. I hear you. I see it differently. That's it. No second explanation. No defensive essay. No emotional plea for understanding. Just a man who said what he meant and doesn't need to say it again. That kind of composure does something to a woman that logic never could. It makes her feel like she's standing next to something solid. Something that doesn't shift when pushed. Something she can actually lean against when life gets heavy. And that solidity, that quiet immovability under pressure creates a form of attraction that goes so deep it becomes almost physical. She doesn't just respect you. She feels genuinely safe with you. And that kind of safety is the most addictive feeling a woman can experience. 3. Never make her your entire social world. This one creeps in so gradually that by the time you recognize it, the damage is already done. You start dating a woman. Things feel incredible. You spend more time with her naturally, happily. And as you do, you spend less time with everyone else. Your friends hear from you less. Your hobbies fade into the background. Your gym routine gets inconsistent. The full, textured, independent life you were living before she walked into it, the very life that made you interesting, slowly contracts until she's the center of everything. Your schedule revolves around her. Your mood tracks hers. Your sense of fulfillment rises and falls entirely based on how things are going between the two of you. And here's the paradox that quietly destroys men who don't understand attraction. The more you center your entire world around her, the less attractive you become to her, not more or less every single time. Because what attracted her to you in the first place was never your devotion to her. It was your devotion to your own life, your fullness, your independence. The fact that you had a world of your own that she got to be invited into, not one that she became the whole of. When she met you, she was drawn to a man with things going on. Passions, friendships, ambitions, momentum. And now that man has been quietly replaced by someone whose entire universe expands and contracts based on one person. That isn't romance. That's pressure. Enormous, invisible, suffocating pressure. Because now she isn't just your partner. She's your social life, your emotional support system, your entertainment, your sense of purpose, and your primary source of joy, all wrapped into one person. No human being can carry that weight, and no woman wants to. The men who sustain attraction long-term never stop being complete on their own. They love deeply, yes. They invest wholeheartedly, absolutely. But they maintain the architecture of their individual lives, the friendships, the goals, the interests that exist entirely outside of her. Because that independent architecture isn't a threat to the relationship. It's what keeps the relationship alive. It's what keeps her looking at you and seeing a man with depth, dimension, and a gravity that doesn't depend on her presence to exist. Never collapse your world into one person. No matter how much you love her, your wholeness is not a negotiable asset. It's the foundation everything else stands on. 4. Never react emotionally to her emotions. She's upset, frustrated, maybe angry. The energy in the room shifts and tightens. And in that moment, you face a choice that will define how she perceives you going forward, possibly for a very long time. Most men mirror her emotional state. She gets heated, they get heated. She raises her voice, they raise theirs. She becomes irrational. They meet her at that level and try to fight irrationality with irrationality. Two people spiraling upward in an emotional tornado that solves nothing and damages everything. Other men swing the opposite direction. She gets upset and they shut down entirely, go silent, withdraw, stonewall, disappear into another room and wait for it to pass. They think they're being mature. They think they're refusing to engage with the drama. But what she actually experiences is abandonment. A man who leaves her alone inside her emotions because he can't handle them. Both responses kill attraction. Both send the same fundamental message. I'm not strong enough to hold this moment. The response that actually builds attraction is the one almost nobody teaches. You stay calm, present, emotionally grounded. Not cold, not detached, not dismissive, but anchored. Like a man standing in the middle of a storm who has no desire to become the storm. You let her feel what she's feeling without rushing to fix it, logic her out of it, or match her intensity. You don't run from it either. You simply stay fully present, fully composed with an energy that says, I can handle this. I can handle you. You are safe to feel everything you're feeling, because my stability does not depend on your emotional state. That response, that grounded, unshakable, non-reactive presence in the middle of her emotional chaos is one of the most powerfully attractive things a man can demonstrate, because it proves something that words never could. It proves that you are regulated, that your inner world is not at the mercy of external conditions, that she can bring her worst moments to you and you won't break, won't flee, won't retaliate. Every woman is subconsciously searching for that man, the one who can hold the space without losing himself inside it. If you become that man, you become irreplaceable. 5. Never broadcast your interest too early. You meet her. She's stunning, sharp, warm, magnetic. Everything about her pulls you in. And because you feel something genuine, something real, you let it show. All of it, immediately. You text her the same night. You double text the next morning. You tell her you had an incredible time. You're mentally planning the second date before the first one is even over. You compliment her constantly. And within the first few interactions, you have made it abundantly, unmistakably clear that you are fully, completely, thoroughly interested. And you just robbed her of the most exciting phase of attraction, the uncertainty. This isn't a game. This isn't playing hard to get. This is about a fundamental principle of female psychology that most men are completely blind to. Attraction intensifies in the space between certainty and uncertainty. It grows strongest not when a woman knows exactly where she stands with you, but when she's still figuring it out. when she's still replaying your last conversation, still analyzing what you meant by that one thing you said, still asking her friend Emma over coffee, "Do you think he actually likes me?" That wondering, that cognitive loop of does he or doesn't he is where real emotional investment is born. It's where she starts thinking about you when you're not in the room. It's where you transform from someone she enjoyed meeting into someone she genuinely can't stop thinking about. And when you broadcast your full interest immediately, you collapse that entire process before it even begins. You answer the question she hadn't finished asking. You close the loop before it had time to build momentum. She might feel flattered. She might even be pleased in the moment. But the chase is over before it started. The mystery is gone. And without mystery, without that slight, unresolved edge of "I'm not entirely sure where I stand with him," attraction plateaus fast and then quietly starts to decline. This doesn't mean be cold. It doesn't mean ignore her or perform indifference. It means be measured. Reveal your interest in layers rather than flooding her with everything at once. Let her earn deeper access to how you feel over time. Create a pace that allows her emotional investment to grow naturally rather than handing her all the answers before she's had time to develop her own feelings. Patience here isn't just a virtue. It's a strategy, and the men who genuinely understand it have an almost unfair advantage. 6. Never use jealousy as a tool. This is the one I warned you about. The behavior that most men think is clever, strategic, maybe even a little alpha, and it is one of the most destructive things you can do. You mention another woman not subtly, deliberately. You want her to know that other women find you desirable. You want her to feel slightly threatened, a little insecure, motivated to compete. Maybe you like a photo where you know she'll see it. Maybe you drop an ex's name a little too casually. Maybe you flirt with someone in her presence just to clock her reaction. And in the short term, it might appear to work. She gets quieter. She tries harder. She becomes suddenly more attentive, more affectionate, more present. And you think, see, a little jealousy was exactly what she needed. It didn't work. What you just triggered was her anxiety response, not her attraction response. Anxiety and attraction can look almost identical from the outside. Both create heightened attention. Both create emotional intensity. Both can make someone seem more engaged and invested. But they operate on completely different neurological pathways and lead to completely different outcomes. Attraction builds, it grows. It deepens over time into trust, respect, and genuine connection. Anxiety accumulates. It creates a slow, toxic buildup of insecurity, resentment, and emotional exhaustion that eventually makes her associate being near you with a low-grade sense of pain rather than pleasure. The woman who suddenly becomes more attentive after you triggered her jealousy isn't more attracted to you. She's more afraid of losing you. And fear-based attachment is the most unstable form of connection that exists. It produces constant vigilance, emotional volatility, an underlying current of distrust that poisons everything, no matter how good the surface looks. Here's what actually communicates high value: not telling her that other women want you, carrying yourself like a man that other women would want, and letting her feel that through everything about the way you show up. There is an enormous difference between those two things. The first is manipulation. The second is reality. The first creates insecurity. The second creates genuine admiration. The first makes her feel like she's been entered into a competition she never agreed to join. The second makes her feel like she chose someone exceptional. Jealousy is not a tool. It's a weapon. And every time you reach for it, you're pointing it directly at the foundation of the very thing you're trying to build. 7. Never criticize her in public. This one seems obvious. Men do it constantly anyway, often without realizing what they're doing. You're at dinner with friends. She says something you disagree with. Instead of letting it go until later, you correct her right there at the table. Or she tells a story and gets a detail wrong and you interrupt to fix it. Or maybe it's even more subtle than that, a dismissive glance while she's talking. A joke at her expense that lands just a little too sharp. A comment about something she did or didn't do that. While technically minor, happens in front of an audience. Every single one of these moments does the same thing. It makes her feel small in a space where she should feel safe. And a woman who has been made to feel small by her man in public will never fully trust him in private again. This isn't about fragility. It isn't about women being unable to handle honest feedback. It's about context. The exact same conversation that would be completely fine in private becomes something else entirely when it happens in front of other people. Because in public, she isn't just hearing your words. She's experiencing them through the eyes of everyone else in the room. She isn't just processing the criticism. She's processing the humiliation of being criticized in front of witnesses by the one person who was supposed to be in her corner. That wound doesn't heal quickly, and it doesn't stay contained to the moment it happened. It spreads. into the way she speaks to you, into how much of herself she's willing to show you, into whether she still sees you as a safe place or a potential source of embarrassment. Private disagreements stay private. Public moments are for making her feel chosen, respected, and proud to be standing next to you. That's the standard. Hold it. And there you have it, 7 of the 8 behaviors that kill attraction, sometimes instantly, always inevitably. The common thread running through all of them is the same. Insecurity, expressed in different disguises as over-explaining, as emotional reactivity, as control, as approval-seeking, as the desperate need to seem like more than you already are. The man who eliminates these behaviors doesn't just become more attractive. He becomes someone fundamentally different to be around, steadier, more grounded, more real. And that kind of man doesn't have to chase attraction, it follows him. If this video landed for you, subscribe, and drop a comment below with the number that hit closest to home. Your honesty might be exactly what someone else scrolling through needs to read. See you in the next one.